I'm currently training for my third marathon. I'm into the last few weeks of training, headed towards the taper, and I thought whilst I'm here in the beautiful Lanzarote sunshine, I would share with you what not to do before your marathon. When you're training for a marathon in the last final few weeks before your 26.2 miles, it's important to train smart, stay focused and not try anything new. But it can sometimes be tempting to make a mistake that will cost you your PB. We've all been guilty of it, I know I have, but more on that later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what not to do before your marathon, from tapering wrong, fueling incorrectly, getting the wrong nutrition, or even going out too hard before the race. Let's go through what not to do. So my first tip, and I know this is one that has definitely caught a lot of people out, myself included, is overeating or trying something new before the race. Go on, hands up, be honest, let me know in the comments how many people have turned up to the expo and tried new things or seen a new gel that you want to try on race day, or have you turned up to your race location and not thought about where you're going to have lunch or dinner the night before the race. Be honest, it's happened to us all, and myself included, but you don't want to eat anything new before or on race day. If you're traveling somewhere new for the race, then it's worth doing a little bit of research before you get there. Have a look at the local restaurants and what's on the menu, or have a look at where your nearest supermarket is. Plus, if you're really nervous, I personally always like to take some oats and some rice cakes with me with some peanut butter, just in case I'm left without any other options. It's also worth ringing ahead and seeing whether the restaurants could do any substitutes for you, leaving sauces on the side, or maybe doing a slightly plainer option that you're used to for your pre-run meals. Also, what you're going to want to think about is your nutrition during the race as well. Just because it's the official sponsor doesn't mean you have to use it if you're not used to it. So think about, are you actually going to use the nutrition on the course, or are you going to carry it with you? Make sure you control the controllables. Now, nutrition is important, but actually hydration is another huge factor which can affect your performance. I know for me, this is definitely something that I am rubbish at, and I'm really trying to focus in on this for my third marathon. A good guide to use is the P colour chart. What you're looking for is a pale straw colour. Too light and you're maybe overhydrating, too dark and you're probably not getting enough in. Also think about electrolytes. Get those in the few days before the race, especially if you're travelling quite far to go to the race, or if you're travelling somewhere where the climate's really different to what you're used to or really hot. It's important to focus in on hydration, although it is possible to overhydrate, so just be careful with it. Don't focus too much on it, but also consider it as another factor that can make a huge difference to your race. One of the very worst mistakes that you can make is trying to race in new kit or new shoes. I know it can be tempting, the expo, there's lots of shiny things on offer, but don't pick anything up. Nothing new on race day. It can also be tempting to want to repurchase the same make and model of shoe that you've been training in so that you've got a fresh pair for race day. But equally, this is not a good idea. You could end up with a blister as you've never run in these shoes before. So if you are buying a newer pair, make sure you get out for at least a few runs before the big day. The other thing to think about as well is nutrition and hydration. Some people practice by running with a belt or a hydration vest with no intention of actually wearing it on race day, but it's important to practice with what you're going to use. In fact, I'm interested to know how many of you race with a belt versus a hydration vest, or who purely uses the aid stations. Let me know in the comments. Don't taper too hard. Yes, you want to lower the overall volume of your running before the race, but equally you don't want to stop completely, or you risk your body going to sleep before you're running 26.2 miles. You want to strike a good balance between intensity and frequency of running, but also not going too hard or you'll risk overtraining. Running's going to help you in lots of different ways before race day. It's also going to help with the stress of running, so keeping a bit of regularity in there is really going to help. Plus, the mental benefits will help with your confidence as well. You don't want to line up on the start line thinking you've forgotten how to run. So strike a good balance between not doing too much and not doing too little. And if you want any help with this, there are tons of plans out there with proper tapering periods built in so that you know you're on the right track. Now this is the opposite of what I just said, but equally you don't want to be doing too much either. There is nothing worse than lining up on the start line of a marathon and having a severe case of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, from doing too much the week before the race. Think about it, 26.2 miles is a huge volume and it's going to take a lot out of you, so you want to make sure that it's balanced throughout the rest of your week. Use a prescribed taper plan that's going to help you tail off, and make sure that in the week before the race you're not doing too much, or you're going to be starting starting with seriously fatigued legs. Now for the final one that we're all guilty of if you're preparing for a marathon, be prepared for the maranoia. This is the pre-marathon paranoia that is going to make you feel like you've picked up an injury when you haven't, and it's going to cause you a lot of stress and worry all week in the lead up to the race. My biggest tips for keeping the maranoia at bay are: number one, try and stick to a routine. Practice what you know, stick to your plan for the last week leading up to the race, and you'll feel more relaxed and more in control. Also, what I'd recommend is try practicing some mindfulness and visualization. This is going to help keep you nice and calm. Write down what the course is going to feel like, or try and visualize what it's going to be. Visualize yourself crossing the line and hitting all of your goals. This has helped a lot of people combat the maranoia. Also, another thing that can help is just try to stay positive. Think of all the positives that are going to go your way, and this will help you keep a healthy, positive mindset going into the race as well. And ultimately, just stick to the plan. Trust in your training. You've done all the hard work at this point, and now it's time for the final victory lap. I hope that's been useful. I hope all of those things are now going to be avoided before your race, and hopefully now you'll have a perfect race. If there's anything else that you think people should be avoiding, let me know in the comments. And whilst you're here, you might as well watch where it didn't all quite go to plan for me in Amsterdam. In fact, I made quite a big mistake that you'll be able to see by kilometre 30. So go and check this out now to see how it all went down.